me to talk about. 2020, institutionalization of the African Day of Food and Nutrition Security. I will not talk more about it, you can Google it. 2016 was the first African Day of school feeding, and that is where we had a declaration to support school feeding programs. 2014, Malabo Declaration with 6 commitments: ending hunger and reducing childhood stunting to 10%, reducing underweight to 5%, and we endorsed the cost of hunger study. And if you look at the cost of hunger study that we did in Kenya last year, we are spending about 300 billion. A loss of 16% of our GDP addressing malnutrition after it has happened. And that is the cost of building the SGR from Mombasa to Malaba. Those are savings that we can make to address development issues. 2018, the AU heads of state, the one that George was talking about, he's in row 1, we are in row 3, technical support. So in 2018, the heads of states and governments endorsed the African Leaders for Nutrition. We would like to build this beyond the continental level, and we welcome the participants in this conference that are the frontliners in nutrition to also take the African Leadership for Nutrition course. It is a very useful advocacy tool for us. And the role of the African Leaders for Nutrition is to rally high-level political commitment. In 2019, the African Union heads of states and government launched the Continental Accountability and Improved Monitoring Scorecard for Nutrition. And so when we go to the heads of states meeting, we tell them which countries are where. Fortunately for this, in the region, Kenya is doing very well. We have countries like Burundi that have stunting levels of up to 56%. We have Ethiopia at 34%. The situation is not good in the region. And some of the things that we try to do, because we have a lot of cross-border agreements and trade that is affecting the progress that we are making. The African Regional Nutrition Strategy 2015-2025 was also launched last year as part of this decade. And this is not a strategy for implementing nutrition programs, because nutrition programs are not implemented at continental level. It defines standards. The other day we were talking about food safety, maize, and aflatoxins, and we know we have a lot of cross-border movements of food, of standards, of premixes, of medication, and so that strategy defines those standards. It also defines convening and facilitation and consensus building across those countries. It defines advocating and implementation on nutrition security. We see how the drought has affected the Horn of Africa. We saw the COVID situation, and Africa did not have one voice, and so that is part of that strategy, and establishing an architecture for decision-making on the implementation of the African Nutrition Strategy. I will stop there because of time, and we can engage more in what the continental dialogue is that translates to country dialogue through putting pressure on heads of states to do certain things. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Martha. Now we go to the last panelist with us. So I would like to hear from you. I think the Scaling Up Nutrition movement was created basically to position, really, nutrition at the highest level of political agenda, including financing aspect. You have here from various panelists on what we have achieved so far in the year of nutrition. As a Scaling Up Nutrition movement, what do you see as an added value of declaring 2022 as Year of Nutrition, and how can we leverage the commitment gain so that we translate into action? So maybe we start with you, and then we'll move online to Tendai, the regional advisor. Please, Gladys.
Thank you. My name is Gladys Mugambi. I'm the Sun focal point, and I would like to add to what the Sun CSA have said. And the year of nutrition for Sun is one of the things that we feel will make things move in Africa. Africa is one of the continents that is having challenges of triple burden of malnutrition. And seeing that the African countries are committing themselves is actually a plus for scaling up nutrition. Let me first talk about the movement itself. The movement is meant to make countries focus on policies that are going to help countries to move their indicators to be better. And what we do in the movement is to ensure that we engage, inspire, and invest. That is our slogan. And if countries are going to take up these commitments that are being made due to the year of nutrition, we are going to see that leadership at the highest level, the presidents themselves are talking about nutrition and food. They are looking at the systems approach, the multi-sectoral approach, and I would say that Kenya is one of the countries, as we celebrate this year of nutrition, is one of the countries that we are seeing from global level as SUN to be moving towards the right direction. What do I mean? It's because we have a policy in place on food and nutrition, but also we've tried to ensure that all the other sectors are engaging in ensuring that they do something towards improving the nutrition by providing the services that are required. So for Kenya, we have all the movements the networks that are supposed to be formed for the movement, and we are still adding. We have the civil society, the business network, the UN, academia, donor, youth, and we have the parliamentary caucus. And all these networks are engaged and they are represented here. Now, it is important for every network to understand what their role is, to contribute to the commitments that are being made, not just at the country level, but at the regional level. And when we commit ourselves, we are talking about organizations that are under the civil society, the donors, putting the resources, more resources towards nutrition. We are also looking at who is it that we need to involve. The youth are very important, and the women. So as we all rally behind the year of nutrition, as a country, we want to see that everybody is committing to doing something. As we know, nutrition changes cannot take place by just having organization committing, but by individuals also committing to change their behaviors and to change the nutrition status of themselves and their members of their society and members of the families. So the movement is meant to make sure everybody is involved. And that is what we have tried to do in Kenya. And I think we are on track and we are moving well. But we have a few challenges we need to see.
Can you maybe conclude and shift to the online person?
Okay. Yeah. So the few challenges we want to deal with now are, can we go down to the counties and ensure that the counties are the ones coordinating, given that Kenya is a devolved government, and we are going to soon ensure that we have county focal points who are going to be the scaling up nutrition leaders so that we can engage everybody at the lowest level. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think, can you hear us? If you could quickly elaborate on the same and to complement what your colleague national focal points have said. Over to you. We are not hearing. Technical team, can you check? In the meantime, Tendai, can you also check your mic? If everything is okay from your side? Okay, can you try now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, like I mentioned, well, like I was trying to say when you could not hear me, I'm really going to present the perspective from the Anglophone Africa perspective as the regional representative for Anglophone Africa. So basically, when you start looking at the role of the SUN movement, one thing I feel I need to really reiterate here is everybody here is a member of the SUN movement because Kenya joined the SUN movement. So anybody who affiliates themselves with the Kenyan government is actually a member of the SUN movement. We have, of course, other civil society organizations, etc., the business fraternity that are also members of the SUN movement. So our role as the SUN movement in the AU Year of Nutrition, you see, you have, for example, ALN, the AU has created the infrastructure, that framework for us, at continental level. We have the ALN, they are trying to establish a funding mechanism to support, etc. Our role now as the SUN movement, because the biggest drive for the AU of Nutrition is to actually implement. We want to go beyond just signing declarations, etc. We want to see implementation taking place, and there are various things that our African leaders have committed to. So our role as the SUN movement is to really work with countries to support them in implementing, the provisions or what is guided by the AU Year of Nutrition, the nutrition strategy. So our role as the AU Year of Nutrition, for example, one of the key guidance that has been stipulated by our African leaders is that we have nutrition coordinated at the highest, at a non-sectoral level, because that allows for greater and stronger convening power. I can already highlight some of the biggest successes that we've already achieved, that we achieved in 2022 since my joining the SUN movement. Zambia and Liberia have their vice presidents as the conveners of the MSP and the political SUN focal points. And what they've also done is they are moving their secretariats to the office of the vice president. What this does, we're not saying we want to pull away the technical experts from this space, but what it does is it gives that clout, that power for convening all the different stakeholders that need to come around one table to discuss nutrition, to coordinate, collaborate on nutrition actions. So this is some of the big things that we've been doing. We've been working very closely with governments to see to it that this happens. It can be advocacy, it can be some form of it, different forms of engagement, and we've successfully done that with Liberia and Zambia. We are also working with Ethiopia to sort of drive them to that.
So can you conclude in 1 minute, please? We are running out of time. Sorry for rushing you.
Okay. So, like I mentioned, our role is really to support countries. So there are various things that we're doing. We will be supporting countries in developing their investment cases that they will be submitting to whatever international financial institutions that are ready to support nutrition. We will be, we build capacity in different ways. We'll build capacity of all members of the SAN movement in different topics in terms of, for example, innovative financing, advocacy to mobilize domestic financing for nutrition. And I will actually very soon be announcing an interesting capacity building initiative that we are actually doing in partnership with the Nutrition International. So I think that that's one thing that's quite exciting that's coming up. So we also facilitate peer-to-peer exchange across countries so that countries learn from each other and they adopt good practices in their respective contexts. And like I mentioned, I think the AU Year of Nutrition is about implementation, and scale up. So that is our role to support countries.
Thank you so much for this point. So thank you to all panelists. I think we are short of time, but I don't like to facilitate a panel without at least participants asking few questions. So we'll beg the indulgence of the organizing team to give us 5 minutes so that those who have questions can ask to the different panelists. George have to leave because he has a meeting where he is doing a presentation, but he said if there is any question for him, he can respond to those questions after. So maybe let me start here if there is any question to our panelists. So no question here, yes? Can you introduce yourself and ask your question?
Good morning. My name is Arakaburu Mugweka. I am the chairman of SBN. Mine is just a comment, a very quick comment within maybe the next 1.5 minutes. Thank you very much to the panelists. What you have given us is an eye-opener and very, very important. I want to make a few comments. One of them is for us in Africa, and to save Africa from nutrition, from malnutrition, we need to work on indigenous crops. Our grandfathers, our ancestors used to be giants, and they were eating indigenous crops. So can we commercialize, look for how to commercialize the indigenous crops, because our nutrition has moved from the food we are eating to our pockets, so that we can make the farmer think that indigenous crop can also put something in my pocket. As we do that, we should also be thinking of climate smart indigenous crops. We zero eat them, we collect them from maybe like we say we collect berries, we collect roots. Can we go ahead and commercialize them, add value to them? Then come back to the government when we can make all the papers we want. In fact, if you go to our universities, we have a lot of knowledge on nutrition every year. But those papers are you just do your paper, you get your degree, you file it there. The next person will go to look for it to refer to what research you did. Otherwise, they are never implemented.
Thank you.
Just very fast. So can we get it to the governments and talk of tax incentives? Tax incentives in all the value chains, including national governments and the like. Then come down to us, down to me, the team which is here. I know the prime movers are the religious people. If we can go down and tell our religious people, sensitize our religious people in all your sermons, can you mention nutrition? We sensitize our politicians in all your sermons, can you mention nutrition?
Okay, then I think your message is clear. So from the other side, no more questions? Want to say something? Okay. Yes, go ahead. Very quick, please.
Okay, thank you very much. As I said before, I'm Clive Ayuko. I happen to be a blogger. And my question is quite simple. Who is responsible for the nation's food security? This is to the panel there. Is it the development partners? Is it the international community? Is it philanthropists? Is it the state, or is it us, the citizens? Thank you.
Okay, please, Professor here. I will come back to you. Can we have 2 mics? The last person there.
Good morning. Judith Kimiwe from Kenyatta University. Listening in, actually following up on what the last question that was asked from yesterday, we are emphasizing on multi-sectoral, multi-system, and so forth. And just from what the last speaker said, it was as if they were taking the words from my mouth. Who exactly is going to be responsible to ensure accountability? Who is it the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of whatever education, and who is accountable, and who is going to be the convener and the coordinator of all this? And I think I almost got the answer from the last speaker that came up, because that's, I think, is what we have not addressed properly in Kenya.
I think you need a dialogue. So last one.
Thank you very much. My name is Joshua Adem from Hope Hospice, Kenya. And I direct my question to the Kenya government representative, and possibly also others may assist if the question might be a bit difficult. I've seen your strategies on malnutrition very encouraging. And I would like to know also, according to the government programs, we've heard of the importation of the GMOs as a supplementary to support the food nutrition. But my concern as somebody in the health sector is by supplementing the nutrition through the GMOs, are there any effects on concerning the consumption through the GMOs, which might lead to some metabolic diseases or conditions within our society? And if so, what can we do to replace the GMOs so that we have the food security minus any infections to the community or to the country at large? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I will hand over to the panelists. Tenda, I don't know if you would like to elaborate on some of this online. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, very briefly, okay. 1 minute, please.
Very briefly, my understanding, the one accountable, like you've rightfully mentioned on the accountability issues, is Ministry of Health, is it Ministry of Agriculture? It can't be. They are responsible for pieces of that puzzle. So we need somebody at a higher level to be responsible for the full puzzle, for everything. So that's something that I'm challenging you, and I saw that in yesterday's commitment that you want to elevate nutrition coordination to a higher level, because that's the only way you can actually have somebody truly accountable for the entire, for the entire puzzle, and not just the different pieces. It can't be agriculture, it can't be Ministry of Health, it can't be education, so we need a higher power to be accountable and responsible for everything nutrition.
Thank you.
That's my, yeah.
Thank you so much. So here on the table, who want to start?
Yeah. First, I will agree very well with Mr. Kaburu Mugweka about the need for focus on the indigenous crops. And my colleagues in agriculture are in agreement. and there's a lot of push for indigenous crops. I wish we could give the microphone to Jane for 1 minute, which we can do that shortly. But again, on the issue of, I think the entire scope, including that there is a lot of evidence even in universities on the role of this crop. So that is an agenda that we are really privy to. And I also agree with Tendai that the accountability is also needs to be at a higher level, but also at ministerial level, we are taking the pieces and bits. For the last question on food security, of course, we have a ministry that is responsible for food security, but again, we understand that the ministry itself cannot do everything. So that we have the other players who we hold them accountable for their roles, and this microphone should be moved to Jane to just address the issue of food security a bit. So you can move the microphone there.
Can we finish here, and
Yes.
she will complement.
Okay, thank you. I want to add to the issue of responsibility. Again, when you look at nutrition, it starts with you. It starts with individuals. There is food around you. It could be GMO, it could be indigenous. Which one have you chosen? So what we need there is knowledge. Knowledge from the Ministry of Health, educating people about what that food has. Look at the food composition tables, let us know what is in it, and as individuals, make choices which are correct. If we wait for our president to put food on the table for us, I think it will be asking for too much. Can we start thinking of how we solve these problems at the lowest level? Let's mobilize each other. Let us mobilize resources at family level, because it is multi-sectoral. As we are saying, it's still multi-sectoral at that lower level. But there is the bigger picture. How do we ensure that there is food available for people to purchase? There is food available for people to get at the market. That is where the government comes in. So let's take responsibility ourselves.
Thank you. And last contribution.
I don't want to talk too much, but just to comment about two things. The first one is the tax incentive, and I want to comment about that because that's something we are working on. In the last KDHS, we have 38% of the adult women in this country obese or overweight, and 28% of the adult population. We don't want to go the direction that countries like Mexico have gone. And we keep talking about this triple burden of malnutrition. And so one of the things that we're doing, if you walk around Nairobi over the weekend, after every 1 to 2 kilometers, you will see KFC, meat fries, Domino's, all those fries. And that is what we are eating. And so one of the things that we are working with the Ministry of Health on, again, to address the non-communicable disease burden, is the sugar and sweet tax, including a modeling for labeling of foods in the markets. That will include more prices on unhealthy foods to incentivize the population to avoid unhealthy foods, but also to inform the market and to drive disincentives for nutrition misinformation. If you look at the media and see, I said yesterday, how Coca-Cola is being advertised, how KFC is being advertised, we are driven to eat those foods, and that is what we are trying to control. The GMO debate is very controversial, and as we talk about GMO, and I don't want to open that conversation here right now, we need to think about our food security situations. What got us to where we are now? Is it the absence of GMOs? What are we trying to address with GMOs? What is it that will help us to ensure that we keep our original genes? And I would also want the Ministry of Agriculture to respond to that in detail. But just to say that we've had a lot of dialogue with government on GMO, there is nothing about unsafety. Crops naturally, genetically modify themselves even in the field. The question that we need to ask ourselves is, what is the composition of solutions around the GMO debate that we need for this country to address the problems that we have?
Thank you so much. I know that they have asked Jane to contribute, but I'm also under pressure. I think Jane is also around. We can continue bilateral conversations. If I may take quick, I think the discussions have been very rich. I will just take maybe what we need to keep in mind in going forward. We hear from AFDB that all check from the African Development Bank have to be nutrition sensitive. I think this is a good information for national stakeholders. How do you use this information, connect with those who are in charge of this program discussion with AFDB to leverage that and to make sure that it really goes to nutrition, right? Because that is one, we can allocate it to nutrition, but at the end, it goes elsewhere. I think the other discussion we may need to continue is who is responsible for food security and nutrition situation. I think, yes, the SAN regional focal points have given a perspective. The national focal points have given a perspective. Maybe a national dialogue need to continue, but for sure, it needs to be answered. It's very important. Going forward. The issue of GMOs, I think Martha touched a little bit into it. And most importantly, there have been a number of discussions, and Martha put this very well. We need incentive to act and implement these decisions. Now, how are we going to do that? This is another food for thought that we may need to continue the conversation. Leila said that you just started. We are still going to 2025 with it, which is also the target for the African Nutrition Regional Strategy, the target for CADAP, so we can continue. But you will agree with me that we really receive extremely important perspective from global, regional level, from the different panelists, and I would really like us to appreciate their contribution. I don't know who is going to lead. Jane, can you lead that?
Thank you, panelists, for that very, very informative discussion, and our moderator for the session. Let's start up and give them a very hearty clap for the work they have done, so that we make them move from their seats to where they sit together with our moderator. Na tuwapigie makofi mpaka waamuke na waketi. Tuendelee kupiga makofi, ndio tusaidie na iwezeshe to move to the next level. And thank you for that session. God bless you. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. You will all agree with me that it has been informative, only that we are still on day one. And that's why we had to stop that. Jane is still here, the panelists are still here, so the conversation continues. It's a forum for us to be able to interact, continue asking the questions, continue getting the information that we need. Now, I want us to go for tea, but before we go for tea, we want to tweet. How many of us have Twitter on their phone? If you don't have, you can just download Twitter, register yourself, and start tweeting. What do I want us to tweet? You've been here. Has it been good? Has the information sparked something in you? Write that something. And our ICT, I don't know if they've put our hashtags. Our first hashtag is hashtag Nutrition Symposium Kenya, Kenya with a capital K-E. Just hashtag Nutrition Symposium Kenya. So you go to your Twitter and just write something and tell people to follow us. We want to trend. We want people to know nutrition. That Mugwiria was saying, that we start speaking and making people informed about nutrition. Gladys said, it starts with me and it starts with you. Let's start it now. Let's tweet ICT. I want our hashtags to be outside there, to be on the screen. The next one is Eradicate Malnutrition Kenya. Eradicate Malnutrition Kenya. Kenya is just capital K and E. You can just write it down, and as you go for T, tweet. Write something that you've had in this panel, something that we had in the previous one, something that we had yesterday with the data that we discussed. Then we will be able to trend. As you do this, tag the MOH Twitter page. The MOH Twitter page is at MOH, capital M-O-H, _ Kenya with a capital K, capital E, capital N, capital Y, and capital A. MOH hashtag Kenya. Let's tag them, let's tag UNICEF, let's tag WFP, let's tag our Mheshimiwa here, Adan. I don't know if you tweet, do you? Do you have a handle? We'll get it and we will follow you and we will tag you onto what we are saying. Sawa sawa. We have 15 minutes, we've taken in on our time, we're still on day 1. Let's go for our tea, 15 minutes max, we'll be back. As you come back, you'll get the hashtags playing there, and our Twitter handles, the ones that we can tag, just to spark our minds. But if we all do it, we're over 300, we will surely trend. Thank you, 15 minutes. At 11:05, I will call you in. Thank you.
Welcome back. Those who are outside, please come into the room so that we can start the next session. I hope you are all fine. As we were going out, we were being asked to tweet. Mheshimiwa, tunataka kutweet. Waheshimiwa wengine wote, Mheshimiwa amesema to tweet. Tuko pamoja? We are starting the campaign. #Nutrition Symposium KE. Nutrition N capital, Symposium S capital, and KE is K is capital. It's projected. Let us eradicate malnutrition KE. #Eradicate malnutrition KE. So we are going to go to the next session now as you tweet. And I'd like to call Dr. Elda Ansomo. Dr. Elda. Sorry, there is a special request. I'm hoping that those who are, let me consult. Okay, sorry, on a special request, we will move to a session where Mheshimiwa is involved so that we can handle that, and then we'll call the panelists for that other session later. Sorry for that. At this time, then I'll call Peter Milo to take over. Karibu.
Good morning. Anybody out there, we are saying please come in. We are having a very interesting session. Meanwhile, can I call the panel team to come? So I'm moderating for you a session on towards eradication of malnutrition, county and national experiences and commitment. And I feel privileged that today we have a parliamentarian, and what an opportune time for us to have a parliamentarian. I'll be saying more to talk to us. And then we have the county executive committee member, that's the Minister for Health for Kisumu. Online will be joined by the chief officer for Makueni County. And then we are also joined by county nutrition coordinator for West Pokot. So I think at this juncture, I'd like to call Honorable Hadan Haji Yusuf, please come forward. Dr. Ganda, please come forward. Rael from Leah from West Pokot, please come forward. And then as we are getting ready, Rael Mwando, the county nutrition coordinator for Kisumu, please be ready to make your 10 minutes presentation, which will act as a curtain raiser to this session. Kitui was to join us, but unfortunately they are not able to be with us today. but nevertheless, they are ably represented. Can I request we have the presentation for Ryle up? All right, so a few things before we have the presentation on is that I think since yesterday, and from all speakers, including the chief guest yesterday, we took note that to address malnutrition, you need to have different sectors and players playing their part. And simply because the causes of malnutrition are multi-causal, and the UNICEF conceptual framework has that very well elaborated. But now to link that to the sessions that we are getting in, is that we know nutrition and most of the nutrition sensitive sectors, and also there's some of them specific like health, they have been fully devolved. And those are the responsibilities of county governments. Therefore, it means it is very important for the national government and the county governments to work together, whereas national has the responsibility for technical assistance policy framework, the counties have the responsibility of implementing those. And therefore, it's very important for us to hear from the people who do that on a daily basis. So just as a way of introduction, we are privileged this morning to have Honorable Adan Haji, who is a Member of Parliament for Mandera West, and also is a chairperson for the East African Parliamentarian Alliance for Food and Nutrition Security. I say we are privileged because we'll have somebody, a senior leader, who will give us perspective from just representation of people, but at the same time being chairing an organ that is leading on that. So karibu sana. And thank you to the team for making the flexibility. Mheshimiwa has traveled to Mombasa, and we had to make it flexible for him. Karibu sana. Then in addition, we have Dr. Gregor Ganda from Kisumu County. He's the Minister for Health. The official title is County Executive Committee member. And karibu sana, and we'll have very good experiences in what Kisumu is doing. We are also privileged to have Leah from West Pokot. Leah is a county nutrition coordinator, and we know that is a technical position that makes things happen working with other sectors. Online, I know we are joined by the chief officer for Makueni County, and we'll also be hearing from Makueni on what they have done. And as we know constitutionally, the accounting officer in a county is the chief officer. And then, of course, Ryle is representing the County Nutrition Coordinator for Kisumu, who will be setting the stage for us. And we are also very lucky, and I think this is the level of commitment we are seeing from Kisumu and other counties, where the county first lady has attended a nutrition symposium as a participant, and that is a commitment also the county has shown. So I think, Ryle, please walk us through. You strictly have 10 minutes. After that, we switch to the panelists. Karibu.
All protocols observed. I'm waiting for the presentation to be logged in. IT team, please. All protocols observed. Good morning. I'll be sharing modeling of multi-sectoral nutrition intervention case of Kisumu County. So we all know that nutrition is at the heart of global development goals. For us to attain all the 17 sustainable development goals, nutrition is the backbone. We know that malnutrition is a serious public health problem. The county government of Kisumu has been able to make progress at issues of eradicating malnutrition. When we look at stunting, we have been able to move from 18% to 9.1%. That is 50% reduction. When we look at issues of obesity among the under 5, we have moved from 6% to 2.1%. Despite the progress that we've made, there exist disparities across the various sub-counties. With the latest survey that was done in Nyando sub-county, one of the
sub-counties in Kisumu County a hero award indicating a stunting rate of 40%. Multi-sectoral nutrition governance was hailed as an effective mechanism to reduce malnutrition, as echoed by the previous speakers. So, in the year 2021, the county government of Kisumu, with technical support of USAID Advancing Nutrition, took the journey to implementation of MSN. So the objective was to strengthen multi-sectoral nutrition coordination to realize holistic food and nutrition security in Kisumu County. So why multi-sectoral nutrition? For us to be able to achieve the global targets for reducing malnutrition and undernutrition, we know that health cannot work alone. We need all the other sectors to walk this journey together. When we also look at the UNICEF conceptual framework, it is very clear on the various interventions. The nutrition-specific and nutrition-sensitive partners need to work together in order to be able to eradicate the challenges of undernutrition. When we look at the investment case that was done in Kisumu County, using the 2022 stunting rates of 9.1%, as a county we lost 151 million shillings due to issues of undernutrition. In health, we lost 63 million shillings. In education, 2.77 million was lost due to undernutrition. So with this, then it was very necessary for us to come together, the various sectors, in order to address the challenge of undernutrition. So the journey, we first of all started with sensitization of the top leadership, developed the TOR, and after that, we started off dissemination of the nutrition-sensitive and nutrition-specific guidelines. These involve the Food, Nutrition and Security Policy Guideline, the county, the National Agri-Nutrition Implementation Strategy, among other documents. Then there was the development of the joint annual work plans, with each sector coming together to prioritize inclusion of nutrition in their annual work plan and budget. Thereafter, we moved on to advocacy, where we were able to train a total of 45 nutrition champions drawn from the top leadership to the community level. First Lady of Kisumu County was crowned as the nutrition champion. Then after that, after we had come together, the various sectors, the next question was, how do we account for what each sector is doing? So with the support from USAID Advancing Nutrition, we were able to develop the multi-sectoral nutrition scorecard, where each sector had specific indicators that they were looking at. Then the other question was, with the various partners supporting in resources, how do we track the various resources? Then we were able to develop the financial tracking tool to enable us to track resources. These tools are populated by the different sectors every quarter. Then we had the learning sessions for the various nutrition champions. What were the findings? We have the MSN coordination platform, both at the county level, meeting quarterly. At the county level, the chair is the CEC Agriculture, with the secretary being the CEC Health. Then we also have coordination platforms at the sub-county level that meet on monthly basis. Then we have nutrition-sensitive and specific budget lines in the county budgets and priorities in CIDP 3, with the current CIDP 3 prioritizing to employ 8 agri-nutrition officers to enable monitor implementation of agri-nutrition interventions in the county. In the health department, they have also been able to prioritize employing more 6 nutritionists. When we look at the CIDP 3 also, health has been able to include MSN and budgeted at 11 million. The 45 nutrition champions that have been trained have been able to participate in the public participation to raise the importance of having nutrition. Then we've also been able to establish the SAN CSA and SAN Business Network, Kisumu chapter. CNAP implementation is a top priority in the office of the First Lady, and it features in the Governor's Manifesto. Then we've also been able to do mapping of ECDs and linked to our various facilities. What are some of the lessons that we've been able to learn? One is identification of nutrition champions who are key personnel in the county plays a role in advocacy of nutrition issues in the county. In the photo above, we can be able to see our First Lady, Mama County, being crowned as the nutrition champion. In attendance, we also had the governor, among other First Ladies from Busia, Nyamira, and Siaya. Then having key documents disseminated provides guidance in planning and implementation of MSN interventions. One of the key documents that we have is the County Nutrition Action Plan that clearly stipulates the importance of multi-sectoral in the key result area number 10, 12, and 13. Then political goodwill plays a role in ownership of MSN. In the Governor's Manifesto, the Office of the First Lady has committed to ensure mainstreaming Kisumu County Nutrition Action Plan in the policy documents and ensuring that we have a malnutrition-free Kisumu County. And this can be seen in her commitment to come and attend this symposium. Top leadership engagement and commitment is a milestone in budget allocation. We have the CECs from health, education, agriculture working together as a team. And during the dissemination of the County Nutrition Action Plan, the CECs signed a commitment to ensure implementation of the County Nutrition Action Plan, as seen in the photo. Then engagement with the Communications Directorate has played a key role in publicity of the work being done in the county by MSN. Every meeting that we have, all the activities that we engage in, we work together with the Communication Directorate, and they have been able to write quite a number of articles. We've been able to receive calls to find from people from various places just to find out what is this MSN that you are doing and how best can we be able to also borrow issues of MSN. Then teamwork led to greater achievements. As you can be able to see, we have kitchen gardens, the corn gardens in ECD, where we work together with the agri-nutrition. As she does the setting up, the nutrition sector does the teaching on how best can we be able to have these vegetables prepared to these children to ensure that the nutrients are not lost. The corn gardens have also been set up in facilities. As seen in the next photo, we see this being set up in one of our facilities, Kisumu County Referral Hospital. The vegetables harvested are being used to feed the patients in the ward. Our recommendation is that MSN should be embedded in government structures, owned and spearheaded by top leadership from the various sectors, and interventions should be able to reach the same target households or individuals in a coordinated manner. This has the potential to impact the multiple interconnected drivers of malnutrition. We know that agriculture has the component of corn garden. Social protection has the component of cash transfer, but we find they are targeting different people. Our recommendation that if all this support could be able to target one individual that is vulnerable so that the impact can be seen at the end of the day. And I think my CEC will be able to elaborate this more in the family social protection that we are trying to do in Kisumu County. In conclusion, we are saying that MSN has resulted in better participation of the departments, less duplication, and a better focus in tackling the challenges of malnutrition in the county. Joint work plans and indicators for tracking in the Excel scorecard enhances accountability for nutrition outcomes by all sectors, and stewardship of MSN by top leadership from the various sectors enhances commitment and ownership. And that's why today I'm honored to have the First Lady Kisumu County and the CEC accompany me so that we can be able to show that we have, if we have the top leadership, then we can have these things move. There was no better time to combine our efforts as Kisumu County. Together, we have been able to achieve more as a county. As Kisumu County, we want to have all children healthy. No child should be left behind. Thank you.
Wow, so that is so good, Ryle. And I think you set the stage to the next speaker. And just one addition, the figures of the investment case that Ryle presented, that is the loss of money lost in the year 2022. So we are still working with the county to model and refine further. So next, I will want to move to Honorable Adan Haji Yusuf. Our Mheshimiwa is a Mandera West constituency MP and also the chairperson of the East African Parliamentary Alliance for Food and Nutrition Security. You sit in a very pivotal and important role as a policymaker, but also as a chair of a big network for Eastern Africa. I'm keen to note that you say not East, but Eastern Africa. Based on that, what are some of the actions your network has taken so far to improve nutrition and food systems? And then also going forward, how can you intensify your efforts to accelerate the eradication of malnutrition in all forms? So please feel free to answer this from the point of as a chair, as an MP, but also as a community representative, because we know MPs represent communities at the constituency level. So I think we are privileged to have somebody looking at that